So, we just saw there are two very fast attacks, but what is the fastest? What counts as its own attack? Are there other rules we should set? Well, let's start at the most bare bones definition. An attack means an attack animation which is defined in the game paired with its frame data. Multiple weapons often reuse the same attack despite having different stuns, damage, or attributes on their hits. To explain this, we'll have to quickly go over behavior params. The frame data doesn't have built-in values for damage and such, so the game looks for a matching behavior param that any weapon with this animation should have. The behavior contains several things: stamina consumption, FP consumption, and what kind of value it's referencing. This param can either be an attack param, which contains the information about hit stun, damage base values, multipliers, hit visual effects, etc. A bullet, for a weapon that shoots basically any projectile, such as the Moonlight Greatsword, or an effect, for example weapons that have a self buff. But basically all you need to know is that these weapons can vary in stamina consumption, stun, damage, poise damage, etc., but that as long as they have the same animation, they will hit at the same point. Some animations may look the same, however, yet upon observing the internal ID in the game, or upon closer examination by slowing down the video, or listening to the sounds they make, you can tell that they are different animations. So, what is the fastest attack animation? Well, without any conditions past what we said, several things take number one as they start hitting the very first frame of the animation. For example, the plunging attack. It starts hitting the first frame once the final animation plays. But this final animation is one in a sequence. There are several conditions and animations players to go through before they can get to this animation, and players can react to this easily if they are paying attention. Or, the Millwood Pierce Earth's weapon art, which has an extremely fast release. Note that even though there are only 2 frames here, the game still takes a couple of frames to confirm your release, input, and transfer the animation. The exact amount of frames the game takes for this I am still yet to measure. However, again, you still have to go through the seconds of animation to draw your shot, so if somebody already has a great bow aimed at you, good luck getting your bow drawn. There's also the running attack of the Great Lance, Pike, and Lothric Knight Long Spear. The very first frame of its animation, it has push boxes, which combo into the rest of the attack. However, this requires you to be already running with the weapon in hand. So, your enemy can react to that and easily counter it by holding up a shield and walking to the side. Reacting and reading from your opponent's choice to run is usually how people avoid running attacks. Despite being often slower than ordinary R1s, the running attack mixes in very well with the regular running animation and keeps the user moving till they finish swinging, making them hard to react by simply seeing the animation on its own without first noticing the running. You can actually technically do running attacks standing still behind a shield by holding down your running button, blocking, and stopping in front of your target, and pressing R1 at the desired time. But this is not too useful as your opponent can see you setting this up and react before you can start your attack. And this brings up another thing about how prediction and reads are more powerful than raw reaction in a lot of cases. For example, if someone is close to you with the dagger, you probably aren't going to be ready to reaction roll or even quick step no matter the latency. So instead, the safer option is usually to roll out of range if you are both in neutral standing. There's also the option of attacking first with your own fast weapon before you predict your opponent will, or if your weapon may get to poise by the time their attack lands. There's also the option of predicting when they will attack and going for a parry, which will often reward you with much more damage than what you could lose by whiffing it. Or, there's backstabbing. You get it. The possibilities are endless. But generally, reading your opponent's plays is much better for countering attacks that are impossible or nearly impossible to react to solely based off animation. From all the top tier players I've seen, not a single one has turned into Neo. Alright then, with all that real talk out of the way, let's see what attack hits the fastest from standing still with no previously stored actions. No other animations along the way, just standing still with no inputs, then input, then attack. What takes the crown on this one? Quick Step with Thorn's armor. Okay, so this does technically hit instantly, but it does absolutely piss damage and doesn't even stun. Alright, what about the fastest neutral attack that also stuns? Second place, 1 or 2-handed rapier kick and 1-handed curved sword kick. Not too useful as it requires 2 inputs, and you have to be already facing the direction you want to attack. It has a small ass hitbox, the stun is weak as hell, and in the case of curved swords, It adds a supernatural poise property onto your character. Alright, who's the other runner-ups? Third place, two-handed curve sword kick, 2 frames slower than the one-handed variant. Fourth place, one and two-handed daggers, first R1s. Fastest neutral R1s in the game, great for reaction roll catching. And last but most certainly not least, 5th place, fast curved swords two-handed R1. Now you know why some tournaments just look like this. Thanks for watching this video. If you're watching this far into the video and haven't subscribed yet, be sure to do that. Leave a comment if you are still confused about any of the topics in this video, and I'll be happy to answer. Wonder what's up with my character armor? Well, I've shared a couple links to the absolute mountain of people who ask, but at this point I think it's worth making into a video. So look out for that if you're one of those people. Other than that, if you would like to directly support me, you can become a patron using the link in the description. And that's all I wanted to say. Good night.